Here's a nice photo. Can you see my Webby?
Yeah. Oh, let's see it. Actually, I can't see it, but I'd love to see it now. Yeah. Wonderful. There we
I can
go.
hold it right here if you'd like. Can you hear me
Feel
okay?
free. Yeah, we hear you great.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's really exciting to have you, Nick.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
cool. Okay, where people are saying it's a bit quiet, I'm going to boost you up a little bit in the mix. There
I
we
can
go.
boost on my end if I need to.
Okay, good. Where did you just go? What the heck?
Uh-oh.
Oh
Am I
my
here?
good. Yeah, no, you're here. You did. Okay,
Okay.
sorry. You
Whoop.
disappeared there for a moment. I got you
Sorry.
though. I got you. No problem. That's a pretty hefty looking Webby there. Hefty award.
Yeah, it's got to be. I don't know if you know a lot about the Webby. Um,
No, I don't.
it happens. They do the Webbies. It's a lot like the Olympics, or I don't know if you know about the U.S. presidential elections. They do them every 4 years.
Yeah,
So they do the Webby every 4 years, and they gave me the award for best Webby. And it's the first Webby since the pandemic. And when coronavirus came, movie theaters closed, TV shows were shut down, vinyl got backed up, Broadway was shut down. So the one thing that people had was web, the internet. So
yeah.
this is essentially an EGOT. Is in my eyes is greater than the EGOT, because the
I think
web
so.
encompasses all of those things.
Yeah,
It's a contemporary would probably be the Nobel Peace Prize.
yep. I mean, even
Um,
that's been kind of diminished in many ways. They've given that
right.
to just whoever, you know.
Anybody,
Yeah,
everybody,
they've given that
exactly.
out to everybody.
Yeah. So it's a huge honor, and
Yeah,
frankly, it is belated because I've been doing this for years. This should be, you know,
agreed.
my 100th Webby, but
So they gave you that for the best Webby.
yeah, it's a first place award for best Webby. Kind of just encompasses best entertainer, best musician, best
Wow.
director. I did a film called Gremlins 3: Dawn of Desmond, and
Yeah.
I was a star producer. So basically, all of those things. Just it says on here something about advertising and media, Old Spice barber shop sextet, which is something I also did, but it didn't. I don't think they had enough room just to list everything that I had done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's been it's a long list of accolades you've been racking up. So
Right.
the award would be like this really big, probably like
Right.
even bigger
Yes.
than it is.
Exactly. And then I wouldn't be able to carry it around, get pictures. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to take it on tour.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, you working on any beverage right now? Any beverages you got going?
Any beverages?
Yeah, you were having you have like you're sipping on anything? Any water,
I
soda?
wish I was, but I was rushing, and I was gonna grab some water or some coffee. I do have some old coffee. This is days old coffee,
Okay.
cold brew.
Yeah.
I have. Oh, looky here. I have. Oh, check it out. Spirit
There we
Halloween. You
go.
familiar with Spirit Halloween?
You got some swag.
Yeah, I did get some swag, but I don't know if you've heard they're making a Spirit Halloween film
I did
without
see
me.
that. That's not
Yeah,
to me. That's almost insulting.
it's a slap in the face
Yeah, I
because
don't
they
want to put
cast.
words in your mouth, but
Right. I wrote 3 songs for them, and then they cast Christopher Lloyd
yeah.
as me. Rather than asking me to star in it, they cast Christopher Lloyd as me.
How many
Um,
has he written any Spirit Halloween songs though?
no, he hasn't written any Spirit Halloween
No.
songs, and it's just the
Okay.
wrong look. It's the wrong vibe. He hasn't written any songs that I know of.
Yeah.
But anyways, I didn't mean to get off track. I just realized I do have water, but it's days old. Does the water go bad? It doesn't have a lid, so
I don't think so.
spiders could be drinking
Yeah,
it
it
for all
depends
I
on
know.
whether there's there could be some like dust or
I don't
particles kind
see
of
any
floating
contaminants.
around.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think we're good.
Are you into like sodas or energy drinks or any of that
I am
stuff?
into sodas. I'm gonna turn this other way, by the way, just so we're not,
That's all right.
FYI.
You
Yeah,
should be flaunting that.
I like ginger ale.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A ginger ale man.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those ones that people say like has these kind of mysterious medicinal qualities. Do you
Yeah,
believe that?
I don't know. I've never heard that, but it makes sense. I will say I'll get ginger ale. I will have different like I get the same brand. I'm not sponsored by this brand, but it's Canada Dry, and I
Yeah.
get the ginger. It's like I guess maybe it's made by uh is it made by Coke? I don't know. It has the zero. It says Canada Dry Zero,
Okay. The
which
zero branding probably indicates, yeah, that it's part of that umbrella, that corporate umbrella.
right. But I get the same version, but I feel like depending on which batch I have, the level of ginger
You think it
Sometimes
varies?
it's very
Yeah.
strong. Sometimes it's a little bit light. I need to. Sorry, I've got these dings.
Your phone's blown up.
I don't know what's going on right now. Sorry about that.
No problem. I know you're a big sensation, so I mean, I understand this kind of stuff happens.
Right.
Um,
It's probably Webby's trying to get a hold of me, want me to do maybe a Webby film.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. You're some agents kind of probably falling over themselves to get in touch with you as well. I'm a big like diet soda proponent. I talk about this a lot, and I think diet ginger ale. I think that's probably in terms of like diet sodas. That's probably the closest facsimile to the real thing. I find it almost tricky to notice the difference between the diet and the regular.
Yeah, that's an accurate statement. I've never really consciously had that thought, but I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
I will say, I years ago, just because there's so much sugar, calories in sodas, diet soda is my default. Like I'm really treating myself if I'm not enjoying a diet soda, but I'll actually say I'm not treating myself because I've come to prefer the diet drinks. The Coke,
Me too.
The regular Coke now is a little too sweet for me. So it's an interesting thing.
Okay, so you're fitting in very nicely here. This is the editorial line of this program. So
okay,
you're knocking it out of the park so far. So
wow.
Nick, it's really great to have you, Nick. This concludes beverage chat for now. Maybe we can revisit that. But
I'd be happy to.
Yeah. We were originally planning to talk the other day on Thursday, right after I was coming back from seeing Oliver Stone in Quebec City talk about the JFK assassination.
Right.
So I planned this whole segment around like conspiracy theories and stuff, so it would like make sense continuity wise. Yeah. And of course, we weren't able to do it. We weren't able to make the timing work. But I am going to just take that segment and just do it now.
Yeah, I think it works
because it's part of the sort of it's part of the general theme of stuff that we talk about on this show, anyways. So this is very exciting. Then the chat, actually, the community around the show is very excited about this. Oh shit! You know what? I should tweet that I'm live. I should tweet that you're on if I still haven't done that. I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, you do that, and I'll retweet it, and then we'll just start over.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. We'll start.
Basically,
that was a nice dry run.
Yeah, essentially, I did the Spirit Cup, I did the Webby.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, someone's pirating this and they'll upload it to
That's right.
ZooTube or something. Oh my gosh, I thought I muted that. Apologize.
Okay, so tweeting that, okay, that's good. So that is done. Tweeted that we're doing this here. The soda talk is just for the real heads that didn't show up on the right time.
Right.
So I had planned to talk to you on Thursday when I had this conspiracy theme, but overall it's kind of a theme that comes up often on this show. So the chat and the community was very excited about this prospect that this is a brand new segment. This is your first person you've ever been that's been part of this segment called Conspiracy Corner with Nick LUTSKO. I don't know if you can see the screen. That's what's on the screen right now. So
yeah, I just pulled up the screen.
Okay, good. You're probably a few moments behind. So I
like it. I see Conspiracy Corner with Nick LUTSKO.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
There we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do in this segment is I'm gonna bring up a couple of different famous conspiracy theories. Okay. And then you can respond by letting us know whether you believe in the conspiracy theory or why not. Does that sound like something you want to participate in?
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Is there a prize, I wonder, or is this just more just kind of for,
I can reach out to the Webbies to see if we can get you another one. I can't make any guarantees, but
okay, all right, yeah. They're probably watching,
I would be surprised if they weren't.
Right.
They've got their main guy, their main point man right now doing the rounds, the media rounds. You would think that they would be paying attention to that.
I think since I won this year's Webby, they have a close eye on me.
Yeah.
And pretty much wherever I go, whatever I do, they're watching. So, hey, Webby, we're about to do a segment called...
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Of 2022.
Okay. Wonderful. Great setup. And thank you for the raid, Zach app. Very much appreciated. Thank you. We're live here with Nick LUTSKO. So this is the first ever segment, Conspiracy Corner. Okay, wait, you know what I should do? I'm just going to play a brief theme.
Oh, cool. You wrote a theme song?
No, I'm going to use composer John Williams.
Oh, I was gonna say I could write a theme song really quickly if you'd want.
Oh, but
If you
that
want
would
me
be
to.
incredible if you could do that, actually. Oh my goodness, this is really
Key of B
exciting.
minor, maybe.
I would love that. That sounds really kind of suspicious and
Conspiracy Corner with Rob and Nick.
very
Short and
nice.
sweet, right?
Yeah,
Is
that was
good?
wonderful.
Cool.
Okay, so this is Conspiracy Corner. And so here's the first conspiracy that I wanted to bring up is, and again, it goes along with what I was planning to do the other day, but here's conspiracy number 1, the JFK assassination.
That did happen.
Yeah.
He was killed. I saw there's actually
There's video of that.
YouTube,
Yeah, that's true.
sure.
Yep. Do you have any so when it comes to the JFK assassination, do you believe the main story, the main narrative that was promoted by like the Warren Commission? Or do you think that there's some kind of a conspiracy or something else going on with that?
It's a good question. Shoot, man, I might not be smart enough for this game. I mean, uh, you remind me. You said you were listening to Oliver Stone speak about this particular subject, right?
Yeah, that's
Is that
right.
what you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I never saw the film JFK, but I know there's a lot of speculation. I feel like,
you can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through
right?
all
Like
this.
I feel like it was a well accepted, uh, collective thought that there's more than meets the eye. But I think other people have been like, but no, they actually could have.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Is that?
I definitely
right?
recommend seeing the movie. It's definitely worth seeing.
Yeah.
So, do you think, just to make it even easier, do you think it's a possibility that this sort of United States national security establishment conspired to remove President Kennedy from power because he stood in the way of their kind of global campaign of mass murder and repression, which then took place? They wanted to increase presence in Vietnam. Kennedy wanted a détente with Vietnam. He wanted to pull troops out. He wanted détente with Cuba and the Soviet Union. And these like kind of CIA guys, they weren't into that. They weren't into that course of action. So they took him out. Do you think there's any validity to that?
I feel like my first instinct would be to say no, but I see what the Hollywood Fat Cats have done to Gremlins 3,
Yeah.
the Spirit Halloween film with Christopher Lloyd, and I wouldn't put anything past these guys. The global cabal is what I call them. So yeah, I feel like anytime you sing a tune that doesn't go directly into their narrative, it's like they have the kill switch ready to roll. So that's totally within the realm of possibility to me. 100%.
Okay, that's acceptable. That's acceptable. Okay, next question. Next conspiracy. By the way, I'm sorry if I sprung this segment on you with no planning or anything like that.
No,
You're coming here ready to talk about your music stuff, and I'm doing this whole thing. Here's the next one.
I'm into it.
Okay, good.
Hey, stop me if I just realized that I'm a couple seconds behind on the replay, and I realize I had my drink pointed the wrong way. I'm not here to promote Spirit Halloween. Just strike that from the record. If I don't know if there's gonna be a replay, but if we go in and edit in any,
I can blur that out.
that would be awesome. Thank
I
you.
actually I regret now that I did this, but I played the video earlier that your song to set the stage for you coming on the
That's all right.
show.
The songs live on. It's the film that we're gonna be boycotting.
Okay.
Until they digitally replace Christopher Lloyd with me, my image.
Okay. I'm on board with that. Okay. Next conspiracy theory, the moon landing. What do you make of the moon landing? Did it happen? Or was it fake?
Yeah. I think it did happen.
Some people think that it was not. Some people in this community even. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but there's people in this community that feel very strongly about this.
Yeah.
You're on board with the narrative?
I am on board with the narrative.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. How do you feel? Is there a film I should watch about this? I know they did a film recently about the moon. It was a found footage film. The found footage
about the moon falling, I think. That was one thing.
Right.
There's apparently like a 4-hour YouTube documentary, which as far as I understand, I've avoided watching it myself. As far as I understand from talking with people in this community, has a 100% success rate at convincing people that it was not real. But I have not watched it because I like to hold on to this little bit of innocence that I have, where I believe that it is real.
Send me the link. I have 4 hours. I would love to watch that.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm purposely avoiding it because I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the next. This one's right up your alley. Okay. Here's the next one.
Okay.
Paul McCartney actually died. And the Beatles early on in the days of the Beatles, Paul McCartney was killed. They replaced Paul McCartney with a lookalike who also happened to be in retrospect, a really great musician and songwriter as well. Right. And then included a bunch of subliminal clues and messages in their subsequent albums to indicate to people that this is what had happened.
This is one of those few times I feel I'm a big Beatles fan, even though I was wronged by the Beatles. I don't know if you knew I was actually trying to get the Beatles back together.
Really?
I was gonna call it Beatles 2, and they were gonna tour with me and play my songs. I was gonna kind of fill the John Lennon, George Harrison role, and I was gonna be the premier songwriter.
Yeah.
But Paul never got back to me. But before then, I was a really big Beatles fan, and it's kind of like I feel like you could talk about any of these things and make you think, man, there might be something there. But I feel like a lot of times when you actually are somewhat knowledgeable of the scenario, you realize how ridiculous it actually is. And this is one that is just, I mean, I have friends, I have people that I love who believe that Paul McCartney was
really
died and replaced by I don't know, I guess a shapeshifter or something. The thing is the Paul McCartney that replaced the dead Paul McCartney was the superior Paul McCartney.
That's what it seems like to me. Yeah.
All the hits,
Blackbird, and all the great tracks.
Yeah.
For 50-year career now, it's like.
Yeah, right. And he looks exactly the same, and
impressive.
He sounds exactly the same. It's very silly.
Yeah.
Very silly. And even the evidence, there is some stuff that's okay, at best, the Beatles were just messing with people.
Yeah. No, I do like all the album covers and the license plate on the Abbey Road cover and all the different little clues that there are. I mean, that is kind of fun. I don't know how much of it was intentional and how much of it was just weirdos in the late 60s and 70s that maybe had too much time on their hands and were taking some substances and stuff.
Hope people would pay me a fraction of the attention that they pay the Beatles, because I've just been pouring so many secrets of the world into my music, and I'm just waiting for people to dissect and rip apart and play backwards, and no one notices the things I say in broad daylight at the top of my lungs. So it's I don't know if the things I put in code will ever be uncovered.
More and more people are talking about LUTSKO mania.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of it's definitely it's a slow burn, but it's finally kind of taking hold. I think people have seen. I don't know if you know about this, but I'm going to Washington D.C. Next weekend, the following weekend, and I'm going to be debating Joe Biden. Did you know about this?
I didn't know about that. That's great though.
Yeah, so I'm doing a short ring of shows. I'm playing Nashville, New York City, and Washington D.C. And in D.C. it's the July 3rd, the night before the United States Independence Day, signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And I've challenged Joe Biden to a debate, and I don't know if you guys know this, but in the Constitution it says if a sitting president is challenged to a debate by a U.S. citizen and the president denies that request, that citizen automatically becomes the new president. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so if Biden doesn't show at my show at Union Stage July 3rd in Washington, D.C., I automatically become the new president that night.
Cool. Well, someone's got to hold this guy accountable. I mean, there's no one in the press asking him the tough questions. So
So he'll be there because he's not going to take, I don't think he could face that shame just to,
No.
I think he's going to show up, but I don't think he's going to be prepared for my line of questioning. Like you just said, I think I'm going to bring the heat in a way that a lot of, the American press don't typically. And it is my prediction that he will resign in shame that night.
I hope he doesn't take his bike to the debate.
Yeah,
right. Saw that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's my one worry is he's going to try to use that as an excuse and say his ankle hurts or something and try to postpone. But no, I'm ready. I'm ready to go July 3rd. So
cool.
If you have any streamers in DC, I recommend they come because it's going to be a historic night either way. If he doesn't show, I'll automatically become the new president. If he does show, I'm going to wipe the floor with him.
That's a win-win scenario. Sense. Yeah.
Is win-win, yeah.
Yeah, and then the debate in the marketplace of ideas. The battlefront of ideas. We know what you mean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we got one more conspiracy to talk to you about, and we can move on from this segment. Here's the last one. Alien cattle mutilations.
Oh yeah, it's a
What do you
good
make
one.
about that? You have any thoughts about that?
It's interesting. I'm into it. I think there's we need something happening that we need to get to. It's one of the things day one when I become if I become president. It's something I'm going to be looking into. I'm going to
Unredact
pour a
those
lot of
documents about this.
Yeah, I'm going to pour a lot of resources into finding out what's happening to our cattle. I don't know if you know this, but Joe Biden is trying to take everyone's meat. Have you heard about that?
I'm very familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there might be a connection there. I think he might be. I'm not saying he's working with aliens. I'm not even saying there are aliens. I'm just saying that Biden might have a hand in sucking the meat from this cattle, and that's part of his
Damn.
attempt to hog and control the world's meat supply.
Yeah.
And that's not acceptable to me. So that day one, that's something I'm going to be get to the bottom of.
Good, because I think this goes all the way back to Eisenhower. That's what
Yeah.
the story goes. That Eisenhower made a deal with the aliens for their technology, and they were just like, "Listen, all we want are like these cattle parts, all the
Right.
tendons and all like the lips and all all that kind of stuff." And it's kind of a situation where it's just like we don't know what they want with that. We don't want to know,
Right.
but they just since then there's been this steady supply of cattle parts going to these aliens in exchange for different technologies and different
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one my full stamp of approval. I'll say, actually, I wouldn't even call it a conspiracy theory because I think there's too much evidence.
Yeah.
I think they want us to think we're crazy, but we know better.
Great. I think that's a good way to end it. Thank you, Nick. It's very good stuff. That was Conspiracy Corner.
Ask me.
Very good. Okay, that's the segment. the long promised segment that everyone was excited about. I get rid of this. So while we still have you though, that was fun. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And so you're here, Nick. We've talked about your Webby experience. We've talked about your beverage preferences and diet soda and all this stuff. We talked about these conspiracy theories and this conspiracy angle. Let's talk about a little bit your shows, your forthcoming shows that you want to talk about and the things that you want to promote right now. First of all, I was just wondering when it comes to these songs, the Spirit Halloween song, the Joe Biden's going to take your meat song, and all the songs from the computer that you've been putting out. I'm just wondering, what is your songwriting process when it comes to this? Because are you writing songs and then as things happen in the news cycle, you're finding themes and things to fit the songs, or do you see something from the news cycle and work backwards from there and figure it out? I think this is very interesting to me how you how you work like this, because you have a very fast turnaround time on some of these songs where there's a news cycle still going on, and then there's a fully produced Nick LUTSKO pop song about whatever we're talking about. So I was wondering how that works from your perspective.
For sure. I think I kind of cut my teeth at I don't know if you're familiar with Super Deluxe. They were a subsidiary. They were under the umbrella of Turner Broadcasting, and they basically just, I don't really know what they were trying to do, but they definitely were releasing constant content, and a lot of it was political and absurd. And Vic Berger was my introduction to what they were doing, and I started repurposing Trump's tweets and speeches and Alex Jones' crazy rants and other celebrities that say crazy things into songs. And I think like a part of the job description there was being able to produce something quickly enough to get it out before the news cycle was over. So it was I think I developed a really particular skill set in keeping an eye on what was happening in the news and trying to gauge what would still be around to a significant enough degree by the time the song was written, the video was produced, edited, everything else, and then so I was forced to kind of have to be able to turn stuff around within just a couple days there. And then when they shut down, I was kind of stuck with this very incredibly niche skill set. And yeah, I also my face and name wasn't really officially attached to any of those projects. It all came out under the name Super Deluxe. And I was a musician and a songwriter, producer, whatever, first and foremost, for years. And I kind of just accidentally got that job because I tweeted an unsolicited theme song for Vic Berger and Tim Heidecker's election special. and they ended up using it. So for years I was kind of self-conscious, like embracing like the musical comedy with my face attached to it, just because I felt like it was something that I fell into
Yeah.
and I didn't necessarily feel um, incredibly qualified for. Um, but I kind of just like fell into the habit of anytime Trump said something ridiculous, I would turn it into a song. And I don't know if you remember this particular moment when Trump was on Fox News talking about his cognitive tests, and he kept repeating "person, woman, man, camera" over and over again.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And I sat down to do something with that, and I just was like so bored and just like, this is so repetitive, and I've done this so many times, and there's only so much you can do with this. And I kind of right there was like, and it's also very hard to go do something for free after you made a living doing it for
Yeah.
a few years. Like, that same like day or the day before, Chrissy Teigen unfollowed me. And so I wrote
Sorry
a
to hear
song
that.
about Chrissy Teigen. Yeah, it was really hard. I wrote a song about her unfollowing me. And it was just this instant, like, I got way more followers. It was great. It was, and then so that was just kind of like a green light to do more of that. And with each one, it was just like, more confidence that, oh, people enjoy this, and like this is maybe, this is might be my path. Especially after like putting years and years and years into writing a song and then putting it out to like no response essentially, and like
Yeah.
obviously I'm still very passionate about doing work like that and will continue doing stuff like that, but like it just felt dumb to not like go where the people are and what the people are into, and like something that I enjoy doing is creatively gratifying and fun for me. But I know I'm rambling and I haven't really directly answered your question, but I think the first like what I consider like the big bang of songs on the computer was that I Want to Be at the RNC.
Yeah. I
And
was going
that's
to
like
ask you about that one.
that was kind of like um the prototype, like the blueprint, in that like uh I I think it was a Monday. It was the first day of the RNC, and I didn't have anything, like I didn't have any other jobs. I didn't have anything going on that day, and I knew I was going to make something that day. I didn't know what, but I knew I was going to write a song, shoot a video, and upload something. And so it was the first day of the RNC, and it's all anyone was talking about. And they just had these ridiculous guests like Patricia McCloskey and her husband, a person
Yeah.
we'd never heard of until like, I don't know.
We threatened a bunch of people, and now we're famous.
Yeah.
That's
and that
all.
was like 120 hours ago or something. Like it just happened. So I sit down and I write this song super fast, and like I threw the name Dan Bongino in there just because it was the right amount of syllables, and it
Yeah.
was fun to sing. And like I didn't know if anyone knew who Dan Bongino was. Like I really uh was not anticipating that it would kind of take off the way that it did. But I wrote the song pretty quickly, produced the song, shot the video, and I think I posted it around like 9 p.m. And it just so happened to go out like right as Don Jr. was giving his speech, and he just happened to be like very red-faced and sweaty and had almost the exact same vibe that I did in my video. It was one of those moments where like the planets aligned perfectly, and yeah, man, that just kind of became like the process from there, in that like I I find these gaps in my schedule where I know I'm gonna make something, and I kind of just let like I go with my first instinct. I don't really second guess a lot of what I'm doing, and yeah, there's other like rules that I've kind of woven in over time, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. I
Yeah.
think.
And that was when there's sort of a mythology that exists like in between all these different songs that you do. And that's kind of when it started to emerge too. And these kind of consistent things that happen throughout the videos, like you sweating profusely and making deranged expressions to the camera and stuff, and the references to your grandma and the tunnels and all that stuff. Was that something that how did that like emerge? Did that just emerge organically, or did you have something idea in mind of this kind of weird dark thread that can be a connective tissue for the stuff you were doing?
Yeah, no, nothing is planned out. Like everything is so spur of the moment and so kind of driven by my subconscious, to the point that maybe there is maybe I'm channeling some dark other dimension or something. But it is like with that first song, a really big part of it is like, it's obviously political satire, but I'm not really saying anything. Like it's all subtext.
Yeah.
And like it's all just like, it's more about this insane character that is so excited for the RNC and what the hell is going on in this guy's world, more than it is about the RNC at all. And really, when I kind of got the idea that that's what it was going to be, it's like, what tools do I have at my disposal? And it's like, okay, I have a toilet in my basement with an American flag, so I can work that in. And I have this creepy staircase, and maybe that can be a character. And it really just kind of became like, just like, I don't know, like working my environment. And like, I don't really know why grandma became a part of it, but I guess it just kind of felt like a scary basement that a grandma might have. And I just realized as I was making these things, like those are the little things that people like in the comments, like, I need to know more about this guy's grandma or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, so then when I think Spirit Halloween might have been the next one I did, or maybe it was Boat Parade, but it was like, okay, I'll just throw a little Easter egg and mention grandma. And over time, I just realized that people were really getting hyped about like the small connective tissue between these things. And like, it was just finding a way to like develop and like build this world song by song, and eventually it just became this big insane thing. But it wasn't ever something like oh, if I start here I can do this next time. Like, it was just something that unfolded over time. And of course, once it started to take shape, then I get bigger ideas of like, oh, maybe it could go here or whatever. But like, it's still really funny when I work like with the Joe Biden's gonna take your meat song. It's like, I feel like I get the main joke out of the way pretty quickly of, oh, people really think that Joe Biden is going to ban all meat somehow. And then there's kind of the thought of like, how can I tie this to this ridiculous world of grandma's house and like men that live in tunnels underneath her house. And it's like, oh, well, of course she needs the meat so she can feed them and buy it. Like, so like, it just kind of like writes itself in a way. It's like connected dots.
Yeah.
So
my son really likes that. And he was grooving out to that one this morning. Actually, he specifically requested the Joe Biden meat song before he went to school today.
That's awesome.
So going back to the I want to be at the RNC song, I'm always interested in these moments for creative people that have been struggling to like make a name for themselves or get themselves out there. The moment when they feel that start to like work and they feel that connection. And that seemed like that was the big kind of thing that really blew up for you. That really has led to all this other stuff that you've been doing since that time. I'm just wondering, like, from your perspective, what was that like when you released that song and seeing the really crazy reaction to it, and how what that's been like for you, how your life has changed as you've kind of discovered this popularity doing this thing, that really started snowballing like from that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier. It really truly was like a green light moment, in that I had been very self-conscious about the whole musical comedy. Like, it was weird because I was pursuing life as a songwriter and a musician, a guy that just puts out music that doesn't really have any trace of like comedy. Like, maybe there's like some, like, it's me in song form, so there's some like, comedic lines here and there, but it's the point isn't to like make people laugh with it. But I think it's a rare thing where like my day job was writing songs that make people laugh, and but I was using other people's words at Super Deluxe. Like, it was, and obviously there is like a comedic, like, you need to have a comedic skill set to be able to like formulate those and have a point of view and like create a narrative through other people's words. But I just didn't feel very confident in having like a comedic voice through song. And yeah, I think RNC was the third one that I'd done with like my face attached to it. And like, yeah, I just got like, I don't even remember what it was, but I got like thousands of new followers, like including like, like so many ridiculously big, comedians and celebrities that I really look up to. And I had a ridiculous request to send an audition tape to Saturday Night Live, which, like, all of those things just like kind of together were kind of like, I feel like it'd be really stupid if I didn't put my energy into this thing for a while. Like, yeah, and like opportunities have just continued to like, and I've gotten more and more confident in like what I'm doing. And I think initially it was like, well, how am I going to be the serious musician if I'm writing these like joke songs online? And especially when we started playing shows again, it was a big worry of like, how do these shows look? Like, how do I bridge these two worlds? And it turns out like it just works somehow. Like we did these two shows in Chicago. We had one sold out show at a place called Lincoln Hall that had about 500 people, and the next night was really close to selling out as well. And it was like all stuff from my record Swords and some older stuff I did, and then all songs on the computer. And it was like really cool seeing how people were like so engaged and singing all the songs like all night. There was never any real like obvious dip of like, oh, this is the song that's not funny, so we're gonna go to the bathroom. Like it was cool knowing that there are people like the best thing is getting messages from people that were like, dude, I love songs on the computer, but it made me check out your other stuff, and now like I'm a bigger fan of that than I
Yeah.
was this other stuff. So it's been really cool realizing that there can be like synergy, but even though they're so out there, like I think a big part of it is just kind of like owning that like these are two different masks, and like they can coexist in some very ridiculous way
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, like I really do imagine that it is a difficult sort of tightrope to follow, and obviously the risk is there if you don't want to be pigeonholed as doing something if you have different different interests or different things you want to do beyond just doing comedy. But I mean, that's the thing. I think that for me, if I can pay you a compliment, I think that's the reason that I got so I became such a big fan of your work was just through I mean, the songs are very funny, obviously, but I love pop music, and just the pop songwriting behind it is just so obvious to anyone that's like has any familiarity with that. Like I remember when you put out your Joe Biden Wants to Take Your Meat song, I remember I DM'd you specifically because I was just like, I had to be like, that guitar riff is just so genius. That's so great. That's not something I really do often, but I was just compelled to because I thought that was such a like the songwriting, like beyond any of the weird comedy stuff, I just think is so great. And I think that's been what's brought me into it.
I do feel like another part of my approach has always been like I want it to be like a really fun, catchy song first and foremost. And like the comedy stuff usually I mean obviously it's a priority, it's a high priority, but I think it takes like I think a lot of like sketch comedy especially the song only needs to be good enough to get the joke across. And I think the priorities are switched with what I'm doing in that. Like I kind of want it to be a song that you would enjoy otherwise first and foremost. And in some ways I think that might enhance the comedy.
Yeah.
Just because it's almost like I don't know, like I see a lot of people in comments that are like, imagine writing this song and then putting these lyrics to it. It's kind of insulting in a way, but it's like I don't know. That's always been a part of my approach for sure. So I'm glad that's resonated with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's resonated with the whole community, and it's really cool to see the work you've been doing get noticed by more and more people. It's really fun to see that process play out. Very cool.
Thanks, dude.
Do you want to just talk about the shows that are coming up that you're playing?
Yeah, sure. We're doing this Saturday. We're in Nashville, which I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so that's just a couple hours down the road. Yeah, man, we've only done the two other shows in Chicago, and this is kind of our first official little run. Our drummer got COVID like days before our shows in Chicago.
Oh no.
We had this guy Greg Fundus. He's a studio drummer in Chicago. He filled in on like 48 hours notice or 36 hours notice and learned like 2 hours worth of material. I can't believe he pulled it off. Like it was so insane. Like I guarantee you, like no one in the audience would have ever known that had happened if I hadn't made it like public knowledge. But anyways, I'll have to say this is our first like real run with the full band with our drummer. And yeah, man, we're gonna be playing lots of songs on the computer and a little bit of the super deluxe stuff and my other stuff from my album Swords and etc. And then we're heading to New York City. We're at the Bowery Ballroom on Wednesday, June 29th. And we have a little I don't know if you're familiar with a guy called Randy Feltface. He's a puppet stand-up comedian from Australia who has a really big following internationally. He's going to be joining us for that show. And then we'll be heading to DC for July 3rd. Obviously, a very important weekend for our nation's capital. The eve of our nation's founding in our nation's capital.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the three shows we got right now: Nashville, New York City, and Washington D.C.
Great. Well, yeah, no better way to celebrate America, I don't think, than going to one of those events.
Exactly.
Nick, I know you got to go pretty soon. You got more promo to do. Just one final thing I wanted to ask you about: do you have any, like, what is your feeling? What's your opinion on the '70s jazz rock band Steely Dan?
I'm the fan of Steely Dan. I know that Steely Dan has a a very passionate fan base, and I am a very casual. I have enjoyed. I can recognize the skill. I've enjoyed what I've heard, but I couldn't. I know Asia. That's a very popular Steely Dan album, and I've listened to that and I've enjoyed it. But I haven't really. It's something that I maybe should give the proper attention to eventually.
I've become increasingly Dan-pilled over the last couple of years.
Oh yeah,
and now I can't get away from it now at all. And in fact, there's a rule in the chat when I start talking about this. There's actually a Dan ban in place where people get mad at me if I start talking about it because I talk about it too much and it's alienating for people. But because you're a musician, I thought it would be a good example. It would be a good opportunity to talk about it.
So I know I have limited knowledge of the Dan, but I know it's primarily a duo, right? And then the rest are kind of studio guys. And one of them died, and recently, right, within the last couple of years.
Walter Becker, yeah, exactly.
And the other guy is still touring as Steely Dan. How do you feel about that? Is that
I don't know. I mean, Donald Fagen is like he's the primary like vocalist and I think lyricist and stuff. He's a big part of the band. To me, that's just a Donald Fagen solo show, which there's nothing wrong with that. Donald Fagen has some amazing solo albums, such as The Night Fly. That's one album that I would recommend that you give a spin to. Donald Fagen, The Night Fly. So I think it's a little weird. I don't think it's really Steely Dan without Walter Becker, but there's nothing wrong with seeing Donald Fagen live. One of the best songwriters to ever do it. I would recommend, if you want my recommendation, that would be one, Donald Fagen, The Night Fly, that album. I would also recommend you give a spin to the final Steely Dan album before their big multi-decade long break, which is Gaucho.
Gaucho?
Gaucho, yeah.
Okay.
It's called.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Give that a spin from beginning to end. One of the most an incredible album that I think I like Gaucho because it's like I'm kind of fascinated with music where these bands from the 60s and 70s were kind of adjusting in the late 70s and the 80s to this new paradigm of new technology and synthesizers and digital recording technology, and how they mixed a little bit from kind of both worlds, the analog world and this new digital world. Gaucho, I think, is a good example of they still have a foot firmly planted in that analog world, and there's some amazing playing and session musicianship on there. And they also like invented this bespoke drum machine just entirely. They spent like $250,000 inventing a drum machine on this album. And so there's this kind of interesting mix of the old style of production and this kind of newer digital style. So I'd recommend you give that one a spin as well.
That's cool. What year was that album?
It was 1980.
1980. You know what's funny? Growing up, I just feel like, I don't know, like middle school, high school, I have my first brush with rock music and like obviously the Beatles and Bob Dylan and the Who and Led Zeppelin, and like I really I looked at the 80s and what you're talking about, where things were headed and to more digital, and I always like kind of looked at that period as like the beginning of the end. And like I don't know if this is something that like a lot of young people, it's like a trajectory, I guess, because like I've totally reversed, and now like a lot of the music I listen to is from that time.
I love that shit.
Peter Gabriel is one of my favorite artists. I think Talking Heads did some incredible stuff around that time. And I think you can hear the influence on my work from a lot of that era.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely a big 80s influence, which I enjoy because I love that shit as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great to connect with you, Nick. LUTSKO. It's been great to have you on the show. Very happy we could do this.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Once again, everyone, please, if you can, check out Nick's upcoming shows. You can find details of that in the chat. I know if you follow Nick on Twitter, all the information is on there as well. Thanks again, Nick, for joining us. It was great to talk to you, man.
Thank you, Rob. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Yeah, you too.